5 News This Morning starts now.
Well, coming up, we'll have the latest on a deadly fire that killed 9 people inside of an assisted living facility. We'll hear from one man who escaped the flames.
As you're walking out the door this morning, a mainly cloudy start with some areas seeing some rainfall. We'll talk about how long the rain will last, and we'll see more heat coming up.
Like, back up. He's like, you'll be next. You know what I mean? He's like, I'll shoot you too.
And in an interview you'll see only on 5 News, we'll hear from the man who says he witnessed a deadly shooting in Lavaca.
A live look outside in Ozark. It's 6:30. Good morning. Thank you for joining us here on Channel 5 and on 5 News Plus. We hope you're off to a great start. It looks like some of us sort of grabbing the umbrella as we're heading out this morning.
Yeah, if you live east I-49, northwest Arkansas, along and south I-40, that's kind of the primary areas in the River Valley. Otherwise, it's just kind of cloudy, maybe a little bit foggy. We'll show you that rainfall here. It's kind of this boomerang shape. I don't really have the best description of it, but it's kind of this kind of curve. You kind of see it curving for the southern portion of the River Valley. You can see south of I-40 and then east of I-49. You notice it's really starting to taper off here, the heaviest just to the west there, and it's always the greatest timing. Every time the banner comes up, it's nothing against the directors. You guys are doing a great job. It's like every time I point here, the banner always pops up. I got to start from top to south. I'll work with you guys on that. In terms of the rest of the area, again, northwest Arkansas seeing most of it east of I-49. You see moderate rainfall there near Venus as well as Huntsville. Otherwise, much of the area is dry, maybe a little bit southeast Eureka Springs. Then in the River Valley, and it's pretty spotty now. You notice most of it in southern LaFleur County, central LaFleur County, becoming more spotty. And I think it'll become more spotty as we go throughout the morning hours. After about 7 a.m. in northwest Arkansas, it'll be very spotty throughout the day today. We'll eventually see some sunshine. River Valley, same thing, will become pretty spotty. And then after that is going to be very hot and very dry for the foreseeable future. So we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up in your full forecast. For now, we'll take a look at traffic. We'll go to I-49 at Pitkin Corner. Just wanted to show you that we could see some fog in low-lying areas. You kind of see that off on the left-hand portion of your screen. Just be mindful of that as you head out the door. In some areas, seeing a little bit of some wet roadways. Again, we had a couple accidents yesterday in the rain, so just be mindful of that and maybe give yourself a few extra minutes as you head off to work. We'll have the complete forecast for you coming up in just a little bit. Jacob and Joe.
All right, thanks for that, Denny. Well, developing this morning, powerful thunderstorms and flash flooding. You're seeing it right here, hitting parts of the Northeast, flooding subway systems and roadways.
Parts of Pennsylvania recorded more than 7 inches of rain in less than 5 hours. Bradley Blackburn has more on the severe weather affecting millions.
Water surged into New York City's subway stations and right onto trains, bringing the nation's largest mass transit system to a grinding halt. Just after rush hour Monday, service was suspended on key routes. And above ground, it wasn't any better. Strong winds and heavy rain ripped through the area, with parts of multiple states under flash flood warnings. In New York Central Park, more than 2 inches were recorded in just 1 hour.
This is no joke.
New Jersey's governor declared a state of emergency. In Plainfield, houses flooded and trees toppled.
I've never seen flooding like this.
And in Scotch Plains, floodwaters stranded drivers on overwhelmed roadways.
The water was right here.
In the car, up to
In the car.
Rescue crews pulled this man through the water by rope, and other crews used boats and even a front loader to get people to safety.
We tried to go up the road and we couldn't, so they told us just to stay there, and they came and picked me up in a loader.
Mount Joy, Pennsylvania was also hard hit, clocking more than 7 inches of rain. And in Ellicott City, Maryland, officials got ahead of the storms, closing businesses and streets early, even towing cars before the water rose.
I feel like they were very prepared for what happened.
Powerful weather that took millions of others by surprise. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Well, this morning, New York City's subways are back online for commuters, but running with delays.
And meanwhile, recovery efforts continue in Texas from the deadly July 4th flash flooding. Debris and high waters making it difficult there for crews to search for victims. KERS top elected officials says that the losses aren't restricted to the residents of the Hill Country. County leaders say many of the missing were visitors that came in for the holiday weekend. The death toll there now sits at over 130. More than 100 people are still considered missing. Texas Governor Greg Abbott will convene a special legislative session next week to discuss improving flood warning systems and providing relief funding.
This morning, we're learning more about a deadly fire at an assisted living facility in Massachusetts. 9 people were killed and 1 was critically injured on Sunday. About 70 people lived at Gabriel House in Fall River. Residents included the elderly and people with mobility issues, including amputees. One man says he was asleep when he heard commotion outside of his door.
All the smoke from the hall
were right in my face, and all I could do was just stand there and choke.
The fire department is still investigating what exactly caused the flames. The fire chief says the building was up to code and passed an investigation about a year ago.
And in continuing coverage out of Crawford County, a jury there has convicted Cooper Wesley of 2 counts of capital murder and the death of his father, Terry Brasuell, and neighbor Donald Lewis. The trial lasted 3 days, and jurors deliberated for about 20 minutes on Monday before reaching a verdict of guilty.
17, 18 minutes, we're very pleased. We're pleased with the jury. We think that they were listening, paid attention, understood the evidence, and quickly arrived at a verdict that I think the family is pleased with, and definitely this office is pleased with, and law enforcement's pleased with.
Now, prosecutors did not seek the death penalty. Wesley, though, was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences.
The community is remembering a Charleston man who was shot and killed near Lavaca last week. Loved ones say 52-year-old Brad Jones was a coach, business owner, and mentor to many. The Sebastian County Sheriff's Office says Jones was shot on July 10th while visiting a home off Highway 96. His coworker, Jamie Fisher, says they came to talk about payment for a cabinet job. He says a man eventually came outside and shot Jones moments later. Fisher tells us he tried to help, but nothing could prepare him for what he saw.
Just said, Brad, lay down, you know what I mean? Stay down. And then I looked up at that guy and I was like, dang, I was like, you just messed up. He's like, back up. He's like, you'll be next. You know what I mean? He's like, I'll shoot you too.
Jones was taken to a nearby hospital where he later died. No arrests have been made at the time, but the Sebastian County Sheriff's Office says the investigation is ongoing.
A report in other news this morning showing 30 out of 47 rural hospitals in Arkansas are at risk of closing. The Center for Healthcare Quality and Payment Reform says 11 of these hospitals are considered an immediate risk. That figure makes up almost a quarter of total rural hospitals in the state, the 8th highest rate in the country. The group says that nationwide, more than 300 rural hospitals are at the immediate risk of closing. Also saying the best way to avoid closures is public and private insurance companies coming together to change both the amounts and the methods people pay for care. A new ruling from the Supreme Court says that the Trump administration can move forward with their plans to lay off nearly 1,400 employees at the Department of Education. The ruling comes after a federal judge blocked the move. The 6-3 decision unpauses the lower court's ruling while the case goes through a typical appeals process. The Education Department employees targeted by the layoffs have been on paid leave since March.
And today, President Trump heads to Pittsburgh to focus on domestic energy and tech development while his administration ratchets up his tariff policy. On Monday, the Commerce Department announced a 17% tariff on most imported tomatoes from Mexico after backing out of a 2019 anti-dumping duty agreement. Mexico's government called it unfair. One California grower says the move could lead to price jumps in the produce aisle, but he also hopes it boosts production at home.
We should be trying to promote people that like us because not very many left around.
President Trump is also threatening to put a 100% tariff on countries that buy Russian oil and gas if the Kremlin does not reach a peace deal with Ukraine within 50 days. While hosting NATO Secretary General on Monday, the president spoke about a plan to sell weapons to NATO for Ukraine. Ukraine's president met with a U.S. Special Envoy Monday and later had a call with President Trump.